I can't believe what I'm about to say, but I actually like... So Monster Hunter Tri, it was alright, it was fun, and I also made a video about it, so maybe check out that before watching this, because this specific Monster Hunter game is in a way the expanded version of Tri, like Iceborne to World and Sunbreak to Rise, and it is the one game that I've always wanted to play since I was a child, but never got the chance to. And who am I, you may ask? Well, I'm a Generation 1 hunter, and my name is Bytrix, a Twitch streamer,
this thing is big and black, wow,
a guitar shredder, and the wielder of bone sticks with meaty tips. Hell yeah. If you enjoy these videos, then consider supporting me on Twitch or Patreon like the super awesome people listed here, as it would help me and help keep the content going. All links in the description below. Now, I've been playing Monster Hunter games for a very long time, but I've never had the chance to play 3 Ultimate, and all I had for 3rd generation games was just Portable 3rd, and then after that, I waited for a very long time I could get my hands on a game that I could play, that being Monster Hunter World, because in addition to not being able to play 3 Ultimate, I also didn't get the chance to play 4 Ultimate and Generations Ultimate. However, that is going to change today, because we will be experiencing our first playthrough of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. So the reason why I was suggesting you to check out the Monster Hunter Tri video is because this game, again, is an expanded and updated version of that game while also having more content, that being G-Rank. And after spending about 10 hours in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, it turns out that the town, quests, monsters such as Great Jaggi, Qurupeco, Royal Ludroth, Barrioth, Gobul, Great Baggy, Rathian, and lastly, Lagiacrus are all the same as in the Monster Hunter Tri video. So I'll be continuing from where I left off in Tri in here instead, including my gear like the Barrioth armor set and the Bone Hammer. However, there's one little quest that was added somewhere within the monsters' names that I mentioned in there, and it is the Blue Bear Arzuros, which has moves that include Fury Swipes that can be done up to 5 times, Bitch Slaps,
yeah boy,
rushing towards you, slashing your face off,
woo,
and pinning you down, and if you happen to have honey on you, then there's a chance that it may steal it.
I'm getting pinned. Oh no! He's gonna eat me! No! He's eating me! Oh, before you do that, buy me dinner first. Okay, wow, he just ate me and tossed me away. Wow, not so much of a gentleman, huh? Are you?
However, the usual tactic is to just stand behind him, and the only time you won't be safe is if it were to the Fury Swipes and reaching you. Otherwise, just keep smacking its bare ass.
Spank the butt. There you go.
Okay, come on, that was a good joke. Besides that, the village was nice enough to provide us with a shock trap and some tranquilizing bombs in this quest. So when the monster was weak and therefore limping, I took the opportunity to lay the trap down and use it to capture the monster.
I have 2 traps, so it's fine.
Now for those who aren't aware, there are a few different monster quests, and the most common one that you'll be seeing is hunting quests. However, there are 2 more, and those are capturing and slaying, and both of them are quite self-explanatory, whereas the hunting quest means you can complete them either by slaying the monster or capturing them, and if you slay the monster during a capture quest, you will fail.
Like the Palicos in the newer games.
However, I've never tried capturing a monster during a slaying quest. I would assume that it would be a fail, but if you've had experience with this, or something like this, then let us know in the comments. Now remember Cha-Cha? Yeah? He's a friend, and since cats can't swim, Palicos, which are feline comrades you bring with you in the Monster Hunter universe, are then replaced with Shakalakas, and Cha-Cha is one of them. However, having fought and beaten Lagiacrus, he then goes on a small investigation to find the source of the earthquakes, because apparently the Lagiacrus isn't the culprit. Now, as a reminder, in the Monster Hunter Tribe video, the village was then shook because normally they experience 1 earthquake a day, but in that certain storyline, they got 2 earthquakes instead. Like, imagine being able to hold your breath underwater for what seems like an eternity and being used to 1 earthquake per day. Like, the people of Moga Village are just built different, man. And aside from that, another reminder, look at the dudes, look at the women. Jesus Christ, everyone's like wide and such a... And also, have you guys played the new update in Wilds? Yeah, just letting you know that in the Monster Hunter Tribe video, I said... Now, I honestly believe that if we were to have some kind of latching ability, like say a Clutch Claw from Iceborne, or maybe we can use the Harpoon like in Attack on Titans, then it can definitely help the combat feel a bit better, especially for melee. Okay, where's my money, Capcom? Where's my money? I need the money. This is a joke, by the way. This is all coincidental. So I then kept on progressing through the quest by doing one that has us capture a Lagiacrus, which again, not a big fan of. Which then unlocks an urgent quest that has us hunt down a Duramboros. However, it turns out that we must rescue another Shakalaka friend in the process. Now, the Duramboros is definitely one of my favorite monsters to fight, especially in the 3rd generation games, because it's basically a hammer, as in like a monster that acts like a hammer. It has moves that include the bull rushing, the tail slapping, the head butting, and literally the spinning bludgeon that is like the hammer's move. And my usual tactics is to stay around the backside of its legs, and when it spins, you actually have a chance of interrupting and therefore tripping it. But since our gear is definitely lacking, this fight took us quite a bit, and by that I mean 25 minutes until we finally beat it. After that, the Shakalaka introduces himself to us, and his name is Kayamba, and like Chacha, he joins us, which is great. Like, look at him being all excited to go to the quest and hunt monsters, because we'll be needing his help to hunt down our next target, which is a Nibelsnarf. Now, this monster has moves that involves biting you some more. Did I also say biting you? And breathing sand. And also farting sand. And while this monster likes swimming in the sand, I have said this and I'll say it again, that Nibelsnarf is way better than Cephadrome. Don't even at me. And I can't really say that I have a tactic for this monster, as I just really attack it from any side, which sometimes would bring the monster out of the sand, which we did for almost 15 minutes, and I mean that we've been making love to this rough and coarse sand shark with my hammer until it passes out. Oh look, our head-bopping friend is back, and he informs us that the cause of the earthquakes is a very big bad elder dragon. Wait, why was it written that way? It also turns out that Chacha and Kayamba grew up together. So Chacha reunites with us, and now we have the powerhouse of Shakalakas, similar to how we had 2 Palicos in Portable 3rd. We then embark on the next quest, which has us hunt down a Volvidon. has moves that include bitch slaps, claw slashes, rolling like a Balrog from Bionicle, bouncing like a ball, licking you, which can steal some items, farting, which gives you the stinky debuff, which temporarily disables you from using consumable items, and spits balls that can paralyze you. Now I gotta say that out of all the bear-like creatures in Moss Hunter, I enjoyed this one the most. It, to me, is the most interactive, as there are things you should look out for instead of just usually wailing around until it dies like the Arzuros. Now my usual tactic is to smash it from behind, which can be obsolete considering that the monster can fart and also bounce like a ball. And after doing that for about 10 minutes, this red Bakugan then gets slain. We were then tasked to hunt on the Duramboros, which is weird because we just did not too long ago, but it's fine, because I happen to be needing to upgrade our hammer, which requires parts of the Duramboros' tail.
Wait, Bio, if you need his tail, then why aren't you using your favorite weapon, the longsword?
So in order to obtain this monster's tail case, you'd have to break it. Yes, you'd have to break the bulky tip of its tail. Grow up. And then when it does one of its slam attacks, which causes it to lay down on the ground for a little longer, you then would go there to the tip of its tail and mine it. Yes, mine it. In addition to that, once you're done mining it, you can break it off entirely, which then you would carve and have a chance of getting more tail cases. Like, whoever thought of this idea, you are a Gigachat. And this is one of the reasons why I find Duramboros as a really fun and interactive fight. And look at this hammer. Look at it. We then went out to the Moga village because we need some shark skins, which took us a while because normally you couldn't kill these sharks, and if you do a lot of damage, they just swim away. So in order to do so I can carve the item I need from them, you would have to use harpoons to kill them. And while it might be okay for its time, I didn't really feel like this is necessary. Like, why shouldn't my weapon just do the job? What does the harpoon have to do one function that the weapons can already do? And more importantly, why can't we just have chains or ropes attached to the harpoons now instead of waiting for 14 years for it to be an actual thing? Wink wink. We then got our shark skins and then went on to grab some pelagicides from the flooded forest and turn those items in for the request, which then rewards us the ancient mask. Why do we need the ancient mask? I don't know. I just have a gut feeling that we will soon. So what's next on the menu? Well, the monster that stole Lagiacrus' lunch, which is the good old Rathalos. Which has a moveset that is similar to Rathian's with a few differences, such as it only being able to spit one fireball out while on land and spitting more fireballs while hovering in the air. And instead of doing the poisonous backflip, it hovers in the air, focuses on the target in order to sting and poison it. And I gotta say that despite having fought Rathalos and Rathian since Generation 1, they really refined their patterns and movements, which in a way makes the fight itself feel a bit more interactive and a bit more challenging. But my tactic pretty much remains the same, and that is to stand between and behind its legs so I would have a higher chance of avoiding getting rushed over or tail swipe across the face, unless I need to break other parts. However, in the end, a Rathalos is still a Rathalos. After that, we were then tasked to hunt down a Barrioth, which has a moveset that includes pouncing, tail whips, tackling you from the air, hip checks, and spitting ice balls, which can cause small ice tornadoes. And if you happen to get hit by any of its ice abilities, you will get snowmanned, which makes you move slower and can't use items except for thawing agent, which removes the effect. Besides that, you can just wiggle your stick until the white stuff gets off of you. Hold on a second. Now, I will definitely say that this fight really teaches you to stay focused on it, as you can't really just turn your brain off and just attack at a certain spot, because it does have moves that would hit you from pretty much all angles. And another thing I like to say, damn does it feel so good to break the fangs. Like, it feels so good that the feel-good chemicals in my brain starts flowing whenever I do that. However, I would definitely say that the 3rd generation games really improved those attacks that would land on the sides and even the back angles. And speaking of back angles, the monster then turns one of its butt cheeks toward me, only for me to smash it until it passes out. Let it go. Next up is going to be the good old Diablos, which has moves that include rushing toward you, rushing toward you, rushing toward you, digging underground, tail swiping, tail whipping, and headbutts. Now, my usual tactic is pretty much just stand between and in front of its legs to avoid most of its tail swipes and tail attacks. However, this spot will definitely be obsolete when it does the rushing towards you or even the hip checks, which is why I usually fight Diabloses with a greatsword. And the reason is being able to guard in addition to dodge rolling. And honestly, for 3rd generation games, I actually enjoy fighting Diablos more in the games prior to this, simply because it doesn't abuse its roars or its digging or just being obnoxious really. Because unlike in Freedom Unite, if it digs only, and that pretty much is annoying unless you bring a bunch of sonic bombs, but even then, you only have so much sonic bombs until you eventually run out of them. And knowing how Diablos just loves to run around, and after attacking it for 15 minutes, I then captured the monster. And after doing so, it turns out the investigators have tracked down Ceadeus, which is the Elder Dragon that's causing the additional earthquakes. However, before we proceed and fight the Elder Dragon, we will be needing some parts from Rathalos and the Gigginox. Why? Because it is a request that requires us to have those items in order to set up a camp nearby the place where we'd fight the Elder Dragon. So I grinded and farmed and captured so many Rathaloses and didn't get a single drop, only to find out 2 hours later that in order to get the talons, I not only have to break the wing talons, but also slay the monster. Yes, I've been capturing Rathaloses for almost 2 damn hours and nothing dropped because I had to slay them. And even that amount of time spent, it still wasn't enough because I need to have 1,500 points in order to complete the request. So I farmed countless monsters in the expedition and essentially bringing Qurupeco and Ludros to extinction in order to just have enough points to turn in the request. Which leaves us with one last thing to grab, and it is from this monster, the Gigginox. Which can crawl up to the walls and the ceilings, and other than that, do body slams, stretch his neck, spits poison balls, poops out poison bombs, yes, you heard me right, and sometimes it even poops out this gel thing that can hatch its babies. And keep in mind that these little bastards can jump and latch onto you and basically leech your HP. And remember about it being able to crawl up to the ceiling? Yeah, don't get too comfortable, because if you're underneath it, well...
Oh, come on, man, stop sucking me! Jesus, get out!
It can suck you, it can drain, it can siphon you out, it can absorb whatever it does to you. And quite honestly, I prefer fighting this over the kazoo, which is a relative by the way, and the usual spots I tend to stay for melee attacks are the sides, but that's not necessarily safe either. However, I kept smashing this teethful flashlight for about 10 minutes, and it finally dies. Which then allows me to get the monster hides in order to complete the request. However, it seems like I still got one more quest to do before we fight Ceadeus, and it is the big-chinned Uragaan. And it can slam you with its big chin, which can cause tremors, fart out sleepy gas, side tackles, whip out some balls of fire, and roll around while looking like a chicharron. And like the Duramboros, I tend to stand at the side of its legs, which gives me a chance to roll out before transforming into a rolling pork rind. And the tremors? Now, I don't know about you, but the tremors in this game compared to even the one Jhen Mohran gives in Freemium Night has such a massive area of effect. Like I'm standing all the way here and I still wobble like the wide jiggle emote. And this one took us a while too, simply because it moves too damn much, but we still beat it. Which then procs a bunch of speech bubbles because the NPCs are now informing us that it is time to fight the Elder Dragon, Ceadeus. And this was slow. Now, if you've seen the Monster Hunter Freemium Night videos, links below by the way, you probably heard how tedious it could be when fighting Lao Shan Lungs or Shen Gaorens. However, despite being slow, I would say that being allowed to hit this monster from any angle at any time due to being underwater definitely makes this a bit more bearable, but that could be because it's my first time encountering this monster. So I kept on hitting and chasing this monster until we reached the third zone, which then makes the monster fight back. And the music. So without any tactics or safe spots or any idea really, I just kept on smashing, pounding, and even got one of its horns to break. And this fight took me, well, the entirety of the time limit. So we timed out. So I queued up for the fight again, and it seems like the cross-progression system applies to this game as well. Editor Bio here, just want to inform you that usually, whenever I fail a quest, I just restart the game, and essentially, well, save's coming. But I'm glad I didn't do it for Ceadeus, because if I did restart the fight, then I wouldn't have any idea on how to actually beat it. So, happy coincidence, I guess. Which means that even though you may have timed down the previous runs, all severed parts will still apply and the monster's maximum health will be slightly less than it was originally. And you don't have to chase it again, as it's just basically waiting for you at Area 3. Now its moveset includes Undertail Whip, the Bite Slam, the Hip Check, the Water Beams,
Shit. Alright, we're fine. We still got a lot of HP.
And basically being an oversized Plesioth underwater, which wasn't disappointing when I did this quest, but right now, as I'm saying this, I kinda am. And after spending about 10 minutes, the monster then flees.
Oh! Oh! Oh, we got it?
So that means we're done, right? Wrong, because we're not done smashing monsters.
Oh, that's it? Okay. It's a...
Stop it, because our next hunt is going to be the urgent quest that would unlock the high rank village quest, and it is none other than the purple Royal Ludroth. A Royal Ludroth that's purple. Now its moveset isn't different from the regular Royal Ludroth, such as the body slams, the biting headbutts, the tackle tail whip, the roly-polies, the bitch slaps, and it can also shoot projectiles. And those abilities can be done with poison as opposed to the regular version's water element. And in order to get rid of the poison, you would need to use antidotes, which is made by combining blue mushrooms and antidotal herbs. Other than that, you can just wait it out until it expires. And poison, well, it does cause you to take damage over time. But as much as I may take poison damage over time, I will say that our purple friend here is also taking damage over time. And it's called concussion, because my usual tactic is to attack it from the side or just try to smack its head, and it's usually fine for me unless the monster feels like it needs to roll over. Next quest is going to have us smash 10 female raptors. However, it's my boy! We were then greeted by a green sodium-induced friend, and his name is Diviljho. Now, DJ Dragonblight is no stranger to me, as I've faced him numerous times, especially in Portable 3rd and Monster Hunter World, and he's also my favorite monster. However, let's not stray in focus because we still need to smash and pound on those 10 female raptors. Now, if you're struggling with Rathian so much, then it's only going to get worse for you because our next target is the pink Rathian. Now, the difference between this version and its green relative is that pink Rathians really love to fly and do the poisonous backflips. Like, I usually don't use more than 5 antidotes to cure the poison, but for this run, I got poisoned 7 times to the point where it makes me question this toxic relationship. In addition to that, when it does the side headbutts, it can also do a little itty-bitty fire breath. Not only because it has burn damage, but also it having a slightly decently sized area of effect. Now, my tactics is similar to what I usually do to Rathalos, and that's to be between her legs.
You are now marked for heretical suspicion.
What? After facing pink Rathian and purple Ludroth, it was quite clear that I'm lacking armor and taking too much damage. So, I spent 6 hours to farm for every material needed for the purple Ludroth's armor. Now, I know that some people miss spending hours and hours and even days trying to get what they want, and I used to be like that too. Remember, I've been playing Monster Hunter for basically 2 decades. However, I really like the fact that the newer games don't really punish you like this anymore. Why? Because I'm an adult and like to have my time be respected, and it gives me more time to make videos like these for you. Fuck you, Guiding Lens, you time-sucking piece of shit. And after getting a new, posh, pristine, purpley life jacket, we did embark on our next key quest, and this one is going to have us fight a chicken doused in ketchup. And its fire moves, replace them with thunder. And it can also do flashbangs. And remember, when you get flash, you gotta wiggle your stick as fast as possible to get it out. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Did I also mention that Sharptooth is also here? And that he literally pinned me down. Good thing I brought dung bombs, or else he'd literally eat my face. I also found this little place to hide away, which I did so I can sharpen my weapon. Oh, never mind then. Now, usually the safe spots to attack this monster is, for me, right in front of its belly, but it is quite annoying since it can do quite the flexy tail swipes as well as splashing sand or water into your eyes whenever it backs up. And after spending 25 minutes getting sandwiched by a colorful bird and a massive pickle, I finally had enough, because I'm not gonna slay this monster anymore. I'm catching it. Look at this urgent quest. Now, for those who aren't aware, Plesioth is considered one of the most annoying monsters in both Generation 1 and 2 games. Why? Primarily because of its hip check move, and it being obnoxiously unfair. Like, you could stand far enough that it would be considered as social distancing, and even then, you would still get hit. And now, you are forced to fight it underwater. What were the devs even thinking? Now, its moveset includes water beams, tail whips, swimming on the floor, using splash, and of course, the infamous hip checks. Underwater, it can do downward tail slams, and lastly, the free willy. Now on land, I usually would be standing between its legs with the intent of avoiding the tail swipes. However, after spending some time fighting this monster, I can't believe what I'm about to say, but I actually like Plesioth in 3 Ultimate. I like Plesioth in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Please believe me. It's still me. I'm not an imposter.
By the blessing of the Emperor, you shall be cleansed, purged, and executed.
Wait, no!
Brother, initiate the cloning process.
Yes, Brother Sergeant.
Now this one is quite easy. Why? Because it has us fight 2 Volvidons, and the only time it'd be annoying is if I get spammed by the paralysis balls or farts. But it hasn't happened yet, so I'm good. This next one though is the Baleful Gigginox. And while it still acts like a regular Gigginox, I cannot say that it isn't a problem to deal with. Mainly because its poison attacks are replaced with thunder and paralysis, essentially making it more like a kazoo more than anything like the Blanca move and the lightning projectiles. In addition to that, its poop detonates with electricity, and when it gets mad, it becomes red. Debs, are you sure this is just a slightly modified red kazoo? And luckily, it doesn't spawn little versions of it. Because if it did, then I don't even know how this fight would even go. However, after spending 30 minutes smashing this electrocuting teethful fleshlight, I captured it with a shock trap. I captured a lightning creature with a shock trap. And speaking of fleshlights, I actually don't know where to go with this. Our next quest is going to feature the Jade Barroth. Now, it's still a Barroth, and it gives you the snowman effect, which is just the ice version of the mudman effect. And it can chuck some snowballs at you as well as steering while it charges. But ultimately, it's still a Barroth, so I just kept on attacking from the side or behind its legs until it got weak enough for me to capture it. Which then unlocks the urgent quest that would open up 8 stars, and it is going to feature Rathalos. Again. Now, I'm no stranger to find the same monsters with higher stats in higher ranks, but come on. A Rathalos as an urgent? Really? Like, you could at least use Deviljho and make it an actual fight. We then are tasked to fight Duramboros, which we then farm for the next hammer upgrade, and I mean, look at that sweet, sweet damage increase. Mwah. Now, who's gonna be our test subjects for this? Oh. Folks, this is Brachydios, the flagship of 3 Ultimate. And he likes to punch the floor, and punch the floor. And he puts his mucus on the floor that would eventually explode. Now, as much as it makes the fight easy by standing behind its leg, I can't say that it is also as fun trying to attack its hands and heads in hopes to break them. And yes, I'm aware, it does look like a dinosaur with a strap-on attached to its head. However, I will definitely be honest that while this fight was rough, it was also fun. And all they did was just make a dinosaur be able to punch. Like, you can't make such simple adjustments only for it to have such good results. Next key quest is Lagiacrus. This next one, though, it is fun. Why? Because it is Agnaktor. Now, I know, really? You like Red Lagiacrus? First of all, you're almost right, but you're still wrong. And while it does have the same shape and moves like a Lagiacrus, it actually does fight differently. Like the fire beams. Stabbing the floor with its face, digging into the ground, swimming in the floor, diving into the floor. And on top of that, similarly to Barrioth, it does have its own lava armor. Now, there isn't really a safe spot for this monster simply because it attacks its sides almost as much as it does to its front. But I do like breaking its lava armor. Why? Because it is just that satisfying. Now, another thing to keep in mind is when its lava armor is broken, unless you have good sharpness, its naked hide is actually quite resilient. But after about 20 minutes, I captured this monster. Now, what are the differences between slaying and capturing monsters in hunting quests? Usually, it's a preference, as capturing just pretty much ends the fight when the monster is super weak. However, if you're looking for a certain monster part for a weapon or armor, then do keep in mind that there might be higher drop rates for said parts depending on whether you slay or capture the monster. So to look out for it, consider checking out Qurupeco, as they really helped me figure out what materials to get for the gear that I wanted to make. And after beating up and capturing the Agnaktor, the guild quest giver then informs us that we have an urgent quest, and it will be featuring none other than a shocky dog itself, the Zinogre. Now, its moveset includes running over you, the tail swipe backflip, the pounce, the four-leg slams, the headbutts, the lightning balls, hip checks, the tail slams, and becoming a Super Saiyan. And this doggy boy doesn't just get mad, it gets mad. And I don't mean that it just hits harder and is more aggressive, but some of its moves are slightly modified as well. Like when it does the foreleg slam, when it isn't mad, it only does it twice, but when it is mad, it does it thrice. And even the lightning balls get modified too, as it normally just shoots 2 balls once when it's not mad, but when it is, it shoots them twice. And oh, by the way, he carded me. And similarly to the Agnaktor, there isn't a safe spot to attack it, but I do like the challenge of trying to interrupt it whenever it's charging up for its rage form. So I smash some more until the monster got weak enough so that I could capture it. And what better way to start the final rank with a good old Nargacuga. And its moveset includes the tail whips, the pounces, shooting needles, the tail spin, and then the tail slam. And while its moveset may be much more limited than Zinogre's, it makes it up with speed. Like, I believe that this monster is still one of the fastest mainline monsters today, and it took me a while because it moves so damn much, which is to be expected. Which makes it so there isn't really a safe spot to attack it, but I definitely like bonking its face in hopes to stagger it or even knock it down in hopes to make it stay on the ground like a good kitty. And with that being said, I then captured the monster. However, I kept on hunting Nargacuga on and on because it is going to be our next upgrade for our hammer, which required parts from it. And I mean, look at that number increase. And wipe sharpness too? And after getting our newly upgraded hammer, we then embark onto our next key quest, which has us fight a sand Barrioth. Now, while this does move and attack just like a regular Barrioth, I will definitely say that it being more aggressive is an understatement. Because this dude doesn't know what stamina is, because he just kept on jumping and jumping and, oh, by the way, more jumping. Did I also mention that it copied Kushala and makes tornadoes? And that it twirls around it in the air? And while this is more or less an advanced version of Barrioth, I can say that as the fight went on, I was slowly getting annoyed. However, I finally put a stop on its ass because this cat needs to sleep. And it was at this point that I spent 2 full days farming for Brachydios' part for its greatsword, and Zinogre and Agnaktor's parts for both their armor sets. Why the greatsword? Because sometimes I need to cut things and it's also one of my main weapons since Monster Hunter 1. And why a mixture between Agnaktor's and Zinogre's armor? Because having both of those monsters' pieces allows me to get the Razor Sharp skill, which is a skill that halves the chance of losing sharpness whenever doing melee attacks. And to add to that, I happen to have gotten a talisman that grants me 10 affinity, giving me chances to do more damage. Now, why Brachydios' greatsword? Aren't there other greatswords that give better sharpness? Well, Yes, but it is clear that in this game, the blast attacks, or in this case, the slime attacks, are pretty broken. Like, I was able to beat monsters relatively quickly despite having worse sharpness than my current hammer. Now, a reminder about how sharpness works. It's basically more damage, and when your sharpness is too low, your melee attacks deflect, which means less damage. And if your attacks aren't deflecting, but your sharpness is lower than before, then you're still doing less damage than the maximum sharpness that your weapon can provide. So again, more sharpness, more damage. However, we still need parts in order to get the Brachydios Greatsword, which also happens to be from our very next key target, the Steel Uragaan. And the difference between this one and the regular Uragaans is that it rolls a lot more often and it farts, well, farts. Heck, even the little rocks it chucks out farts, which gives you the stinky debuff, which if you get hit by it, it prevents you from using consumable items. And to get rid of it is either wait it out or use deodorants, which again, the average gamer doesn't use. Like you, the one watching this video right now. Again, are you a Congo Lala? And after beating this monster, I farmed its ass. Why? Because I needed parts from it in order to upgrade my greatsword. And the first subject that will taste our newly upgraded massive sword, did I read that right? Is going to be the Glacial Agnaktor. Now, it's nothing special, but due to the fact that I actually like Agnaktor, makes me also like this fight. And as much as I was super annoyed of Diabloses and Black Diabloses in Freedom Unite, I can't say that I was in this game. Yes, Black Diablos is a more aggressive version of Diablos due to it being female that is currently in heat, but it's challenging and not tedious. Because unlike its Gen 2 counterpart, this one actually fights you, whereas the previous ones spend more time under the sand. And the same would apply to this quest as well, which has us fight a pink Rathian and Azure Rathalos. And it's almost like the devs have refined all of the monsters they brought back from the previous games. Now, 3 Ultimate does have its own jank and clunkiness for sure, however, after spending so many hours, years even, playing Gen 1 and Gen 2 games, this is a massive step up in my opinion from said games. And this is why I tend to suggest every newer Monster Hunter player to try out Gen 3 games, whether it be this one, Try, or even Portable Third, because out of all the old Gen games, this one in my opinion still holds the series' original mechanics while being the most refined. And usually they'll be playing 4 Ultimate or Generations Ultimate, and if they were to go backwards and play the previous generations, usually I would see them play Freedom Unite instead. However, there are a few people that were brave enough to play Monster Hunter 1 and even Monster Hunter 2 after playing 3rd generation games. And for that, my condolences to your sanity. Because when I went back to playing Monster Hunter 1 and 2 earlier this year, I remember reattaching my index fingers like how you reattach a bionicle piece. And after 10 minutes, I finally finished cucking Rathalos, and then Rathalos comes only for me to cuck him from his life 5 minutes after. Now, it is quite obvious that I'm not a fan of Lagiacrus. However, I cannot say that for Ivory Lagiacrus. Yes, I'm not a fan of water combat either, but for this version, I actually do like it. Now, the difference between this and the regular Lagiacrus is that this one prefers to fight you on land unless it needs to retreat, and while some of its moves are slightly modified from its regular counterpart, it does feel a little bit different enough to make it a bit more fun. However, I will admit that this monster did get staggered and knocked down quite a lot, and again, that is due to the Brachydios' weapon, or at least in this case, the status damage, being super overpowered. Because while I was able to beat this monster in 10 minutes, I honestly feel like that this was supposed to go for longer. And after that, we were then shown the credits of the game, which means that we're done with the single player questline for 3 Ultimates, right?
No!
Because we have yet to fight a few monsters, and one of them is the maestro of the dragon blight, the pinnacle of sodium, and the eater of everything but its own tail, the Deviljho. Now its moveset includes biting headbutts, the tail swipes, the dragon breath, the stompy stomps, throwing rocks at you, the running tailspin, and lastly, the hip checks. And this monster gave me problems back in Portable 3rd. Why? Because its tail it's quite high up there. And this monster was rough, especially for first timers due to its aggression. Why? Because when it's angry, it gets hungry. And then when it gets hungry, it gets hangry. So it's hangy and you food. And in order to deal with him, you could also use paralyzing meats, poisonous meats, and even sleepy meats to lure him to eat them, which would allow you to do more damage. Now, if you are sane and not as stubborn as I am, then it is usually suggested to fight this monster with a weapon that has a good amount of speed and or upgrade attacks. And yes, the greatsword has the uppercut slash, but I can't say that it is ideal for how slow the weapon is. However, you can try to stay between his legs, but I cannot guarantee it being a safe spot. And the tail? Oh my god, the tail. This tail has got to be one of the hardest parts to sever due to how upright and high it is up there. And here's a small story about his tail. So it was me and my buddies were playing Portable 3rd, and I needed his tail in order to craft the greatsword, right? However, the problem is that we're too overpowered and we end up killing it before we even get to cut the tail. So we use weaker weapons in hopes to cut his tail, and we spent about 10 minutes cutting its tail only to carve a scale. I got the thing that has half the chances of drop rates of what I wanted. So what's next? Clearly you've beaten all the key and urgent quests in the village, right?
No!
Because there are a few more that we have yet to do, and in order to unlock those, I am required to beat every single village quest. Yes, all of them. Both low and high rank, and due to them usually having us fight monsters that we've already fought in the past, it wasn't too difficult. And the worst ones, or so I thought, were the egg and the powder stone retrieval quests. But they aren't as bad as I thought them to be. And if you've played any of the Generation 1 games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you remember, when you are tasked to fight more than one large monster in a single quest, they will have less maximum HP than if you were to face them individually, making it faster to beat them. What about the requests? Well, as much as I've not been talking about them in this video, I will definitely say that I've also been doing them as I progress through the game, and after completing what could possibly be the final request, it then unlocks one quest, and it is featuring the Jhen Mohran. Now, this is another siege fight like the Lao Shan Long Shengare and Zor Magdaros in the other games, however, it is actually quite fun. You get to use the artillery, the swordfishes forces you to get rid of them in melee range, and the monster itself gets close enough so that you can hop on its back and do damage. And if you spot any of those cracks on its spines, only means that you can break it open, which allows you to have a little pocket to keep you safe while also allowing you to do more damage. And where's the Dragonator? Well, it's right in front of the ship. And when the monster is about to attack from the front, you will then have to time the Dragonator in order for it to hit. And I usually activate it when it jumps out of sand for the second time. And a few moments later, we will then continue the fight on land, which you could go over to the monster in order to do melee damage, and when it's close enough to the ship, you can once again penetrate the monster with the Dragonator. We then continue to complete all the remaining quests, which then unlocks a new urgent quest called the Mark of a Hero. And this one was... oh my god, it's rough. And yes, I fought Ivory, Brachydios, and even Azure Rathalos before. However, remember the thing what I said about monsters having less HP whenever you fight more than one at the same time? Yeah, that doesn't apply to this quest. So each monster had full maximum high rank HP, and on top of that, each of these monsters deal G rank damage. For those who don't know, there's low rank, high rank, and then there's G rank. I'm basically taking damage that I shouldn't be, especially at this point in time. Like, what were the devs thinking? And to say that this fight took me a while is an understatement, because it went so bad that I had to upgrade my gear again, which is the Azure Rathalos helmet, chest, low rank Agnaktor gloves, Deviljho waist, and high rank Uragaan legs, along with a talisman that gives me 10 skill points in expert. So with all of this, my skills are high grade earplugs, sharpness, and expert 3, which all of them were achieved from my armor pieces and earplug and sharpness decorations. Why Expert 3? Because that skill increases my affinity, which is Monster Hunter's equivalent to critical hit chance. Why Sharpness 1? Because it reduces the chance of my weapons losing its sharpness during melee attacks by half. And why High Grade Earplugs? Because it allows me to attack or dodge and overall just keep moving while getting roared in the face, instead of getting roar stunned, especially when there's more than one monster at the same time. So the way this quest works is that you'll be fighting the Ivory Lagiacrus first, then after you beat it, whether by slaying or capturing it, Brachydios and Azure Rathalos then shows up. And Ivory was already bad. Why? Because he spams the triple lightning spit or the thunderous serpentine rush so much. He gets so annoying when he does that, and while it is easy for me to deal with Brachydios alone, I can't say that whenever he has company. But I did focus on Azure Rathalos and kept flashbanging the both of them to buy me some time. And on the other hand, Brachydios ends up bombing Rathalos in the face, which causes it to die. Thanks, man. However, by this time, I've already caught it twice, which means that I will need to fight very carefully, almost as if like I'm playing a strength build in a Soulsborne game. And when I say carefully, I mean carefully. Like pretty much hit and run tactics at this point. And it was bad, because despite bringing potions, honey, blue mushrooms, herbs, nutrients, mega nutrients, and dragon toadstools in order to refill my max and mega potions, as well as traps and materials for extras, I was down to 1 mega potion and 1 shock trap. And this quest went on for so long, and I mean so long to the point where my ass cheeks were clutching onto my chair like how a koala bear latches onto a tree. However, we are not done, because we got one more quest to do, and it is the Elder Dragon Alatreon. And this fight was not easy. Now, there's one thing I gotta mention. This fight is also G-rank level, and fighting this monster with high rank gear isn't gonna cut it. And if you're sane, unlike me, you'd probably fight Deviljho, unlock Mark of a Hero, go do G-rank, get the gear from there, then come back to do the last 2 urgent quests in the village quest line, because this is just absolute pain. And as I speak to you right now, this is day 2 of me trying to fight Alatreon, and I was on the brink of deep insanity. Now its moveset includes shooting fireballs that can also make fire tornadoes, casting lightning down upon you, breathing out ice breaths, draconic bitch slaps, rushing towards you, casting ice shards on you, the thunderous flyby, and hovering in the air like a little poo-poo. And the tip here is to have gear that gives you a decent amount of resistance to every element, which I should have, right? And I mean, you could try to eat elemental resistance, but they can only help you so much. Now, like I said, this fight is G rank level, so what else do I expect while wearing high rank gear? But I gotta be honest, what were the devs thinking? Like, I get that the intent is to have you do some G rank fights, get some gear there and come back for this one, and even the quest before this, but isn't this a bit much? And it flies so much that it makes Gen 1 Rathalos look like a land dweller. And on top of that, this monster is too damn mobile, man, especially for old gen standards. And yeah, I get it, it's a last village boss. Why not use traps then? Because if Elder Dragons weren't immune to them, then I wouldn't be spamming them already. And if you're probably thinking, yes, this dragon has all the elements, which is why I was suggesting you to get a decent amount of resistances when fighting this monster. And this fight took me days of nothing but trying to slay this monster, and then finally, and I mean finally, on the 4th day, this dragon is slain, and I swear that while I was trying to do this fight, my ass cheeks actually fused with the chair. And while the last 2 quests did give me a hard time, I would be lying if I said that I didn't have fun. And I must say that out of all the Generation 3 games, I enjoyed this one the most. Yes, I played Portable 3rd and not much try, however, with all the quality of life improvements applied to 3 Ultimate alongside the beautiful looking graphics, really made me more invested into the game. However, while I did have fun playing the old mainline games this year, I'm in need of a small break. Like at some point in time, I gotta take a break from digging up mushrooms, herbs, honey and so on, as well as a break from fighting the same monsters in order to get what I need, which is why I'll be going back to Monster Hunter Frontier. And yes, I know it doesn't seem to make sense, but I'll let you know that the server that I'm currently playing on did apply some adjustments to streamline the grind and therefore making it more hunting than gathering. Now this doesn't mean that I'm finished with 3 Ultimates, because I do intend to come back in order to do G-Rank content, which I will cover in the future. So hopefully you guys would stay and subscribe to the channel to get notified when those videos come out. And with all honesty, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, comment, and again, subscribe for more. And big thanks to my supporters on Twitch and Patreon, as they help me and help keep the content going. And if you want to be a part of it, you can do so for as little as $1 a month. Links to Twitch, Patreon, Twitter, and more in the description below. Last but not least, stay beautiful, hope you all have a wonderful day, and happy hunting.